Brilliance Audio presents Seduced by the Soldier by Melia Alexander, performed by Natalie Eaton and Alexander Sandis. Zandra York readjusted her crossbody bag and dragged her roller behind her as she scanned the signs for baggage claim, her nerves a jumble of anxious excitement, jet lag, and the need to get away from her obnoxious seatmate. Her first international flight hadn't exactly been stellar. How she made it across the Atlantic without smacking the guy was beyond her. He clearly had no filters when it came to flying etiquette. Hell, he probably had few filters at all. Who would help himself to a fellow traveler's leftover food? Who sang, badly, the lyrics to Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody in an effort to drown out the sound of the plane's engines? Unfortunately, her earbuds hadn't been much help. Equally unfortunate was that smacking someone wouldn't help her brand. Nope. The world knew Zandra York as friendly and engaging, not someone who assaulted loud, noisy people when they were all packed tight in a flying tin can. Then again, the other passengers might have appreciated it. Zandra eased in a deep breath. Calm. She had to stay calm. She was well on her way to redefining herself. After all, she was morphing into Zandra 2.0, and that meant she knew what she wanted and wasn't afraid to go after it, no matter what anyone else thought. What she lacked in skills or knowledge, she'd figure out. She could do this thing called life. Life. Right. She passed a gift shop and focused on the rack of T-shirts with a heart and Frankfurt, Germany emblazoned across them. Hearts. She smiled. Hearts were her talisman, a symbol that everything was going to be fine. She took another deep breath and reached for her cell. Now would be a good time to slip in a quick live stream. The fact she'd had less than an hour nap on a 7-hour flight, or that she'd been exhausted from her bestie's weekend bachelorette party, Chicago style. Who cared? It was all about giving her followers a peek into her life. Never mind that most of them were friends and family who'd turned their Instagram notifications on specifically for this trip, because mainly they wanted to know she'd made it in one piece. Besides, she wanted to share this moment with them because, hello, she was in freaking Germany. She grinned. Her first real assignment. A zing of electricity flowed through her, anticipation seeping into every cell. Flights and sites had finally taken a chance with her. They wanted to use her quirky, fun style of photography in their next edition, and she was going to deliver. She could do this, foreign country or not. The e-zine had made it clear. She turned in photos that sold more e-zine subscriptions, and there'd be a much-needed, sizable bonus at the end of this rainbow, along with an even better assignment. Didn't matter where it was. She'd go. She pulled up Instagram, tapped the icon, and held her cell phone at just the right angle to capture the slight tilt of her head. The guy at the cell phone store swore the card he'd put in would work anywhere in the world, but she still held her breath as she waited for the connection. Zandra blew out a breath when it finally went through, and smiled. "Hey, everyone," she said, waving at the screen when friends and family began popping onto the live. There were the usual friends from college, as well as some new ones she'd made at the bachelorette party. "I made it to Germany. So far this trip is pretty amazing." It had better be. She'd rolled the dice and went with what her heart wanted instead of the boring and practical accounting job she'd walked away from. Maybe this assignment would finally prove to her parents that she could make a living as a photographer, so they'd stop the constant badgering about returning to the family business. Granted, boring and practical paid the bills, but photography filled her soul. A chance to make a living at it beyond selling prints here and there on social media was priceless, and life was too short to waste on working a job that sucked her soul dry.